Well, thanks for being here. I'm really glad of the opportunity to speak at TED. It seems like there's some feedback. I'm really glad for the opportunity to speak at TED. It's been one of those things around the world where people ask, "Oh, you watch those TED Talks," and then everyone they introduce you to is that, "Oh yeah, this guy he watches TED." So it's something that's brought me together. I definitely would love the opportunity to present here. The title of my talk is Building a Knowledge-Based Sustainable Economy for Alaska. And I guess it's a journey I want to take you on. A lot of the ideas here are trying to bring together different pieces into kind of a coherent framework for you to look at it. And I hope that you'll take with me. I think one of the most underappreciated resources in Alaska is this is one of the questions that we should ask ourselves. It's kind of meant to be a rhetorical question, and in terms like, I'll give you guys a hint. And if there's a reason why I bring this up is because of the ingenuity and the adaptation that it takes in order to live in the harsh environments that is Alaska, that is Arctic, without steel, without modern transportation. And as Alaska's first peoples, we're adaptive. We understood sustainability, and we continued to perpetuate cycles that were able to last for thousands of years. And recently, it's come to a change. But there's lots of things that all of the various cultural groups up in Alaska were able to bring to bear. I think it's their gift to the shared collective human heritage. Some of my friends are Inupiaqs, and this one didn't need any words to explain it. Obviously, we were capable peoples, and as one of my Inupiaq mentors teaches me, we don't come from people who laid down and died. This is some of the more modern stuff. I'm glad you guys get it, because seeing this new generation of Alaska's first peoples and the recognition of that across all of Alaska is really, I think is something that warms my heart in a way and makes me look towards a prosperous and good future. A little more of what I'm trying to talk about today is the difference between the way that our cultures and our worldviews and our languages inform the way we think and the way we construct things, the way we understand them. And largely, Western science has been really effective at convergent knowledge. These divergent, though, is kind of where this talk is going to. And there's also a concept of convergent evolution, which is one of the projects I'm getting into, with both honoring the traditional as well as the state-of-the-art and modern scientific inquiry. Some of the technologies that enabled survival in the Arctic that was adapted to its local region was the kayak, or the ikiak, as known as the alu badarka also. Each one was tailored to its specific region. The best ones in the world came from the Aleutians, and for high seas going kayaks. And because of this technology, though, this is really what enabled for our survival in the Arctic. It allowed one human being to be able to propel themselves a distance and catch marine mammals that were very difficult to catch. But the question that goes back to one of the first slides is how do you get the first seal, though, to make your kayak? And so obviously people had to be creative. This technology has always inspired me. It always made me proud to be who I was. Each kayak is anthropometric. It's known as what's anthropometric. They were traditionally measured. We also know this is biometric, but each kayak, each ikiak, each piece was related to the person who occupied it. The story of the Aleut story is that the first humans fell from the sky in the kayak. And it was a part of our creation. It was a part of our existence. And so this was a very personal device. The Aleut men would actually be buried inside of the ikiak. you'd be buried next to your wife, but you would be buried inside of your ikiak, because this is the vessel that transported you into the spirit world also. The paddles are also noted to be biometric. The synthesis here is, if you like the Hegelian dialectic, is to bring together both the traditional and the state-of-the-art. So when I was traveling the world this summer, I spent some time down at Tech Shop in San Francisco, and it's 8,000 square feet of steel tools and just really amazing kind of just maker space. And one of the first things I saw was this the CNC machine that would allow you to basically, as I understood, make every piece through a kayak out of it, and that if you could scan the person, it could become anthropometric. And because if you can teach a computer to make a kayak, you can teach it to make an anthropometric one. And this is where, now that modern manufacturing technology is catching up with indigenous technology, there's finally an opportunity for collaboration. At least that's the way that I like to say it. The logo or the motto of Tech Shop is to build your dreams. And my dream was to build, to have an ikiak. As being Aleut, it was something that I really closely identified with. We're working on a project we're launching a Kickstarter here, I think on Monday or so. And one of the things that we're going to be providing with that project is an ANSEP student to be able to work on developing the G code that will turn my measurements as a person into an anthropometric code. And in the ANSEP program, I remember when Herb Schroeder was just a crazy engineering professor at UAA, and and part of the thing goes beyond that. I got to say is that I come from a long legacy of people. My grandfather was the first Alaska Native to get an engineering degree at the School of Mining and Engineering, which is now UAF, in 1938. And this is before they took down the no dogs, no native signs. And as a result, I've always felt a close affinity to what Herb Schroeder's effort was in getting Alaska Natives involved in the STEMS fields. And I've definitely supported his effort, and I'm very excited to be working with ANSEP on this project. So what we're doing is we're going to anthropometricize a little mini kayak, and this is our proof of concept that will show that with the 3D printer that we can offer traditional, authentic kayaks and work our way up to full-size prototypes. In long term, the project will be able to provide mixed, social enterprise with supportive housing. So you'll have a supportive housing unit that allows for young Alaska Natives that are typically at risk to have what I would call an opportunity to invent themselves and to learn the skills as we traditionally did of becoming a man and being a provider. Because now you have the kayaks that are on the wall like they're pieces of art, and yet these were always supposed to be functional devices that we utilized and that we knew how to use and that were built around us. And so the next project I kind of get into is a little bit larger in scope in terms of its global implications, how Alaska has, I think, a very unique role to play in what some people are calling the clean energy economy, or some people call the fourth industrial economy, and then change to other names. There's a couple of different pathways here, but just to understand where Alaska is located, we can get to most of the United States with under 8 hours, but we can also get to 80% of the developed world within 8 air hours. And this is a large place for why we're the logistical port we are for FedEx and for several other carriers. Everyone knows that we have the best raspberries, so this is why I want to make raspberry pies here, as if you guys seen them out front. I think that people would pay $49 for a raspberry pie from Alaska, with the Made in Alaska sticker on it. I don't know who wouldn't, I'm sure that we could sell enough to make it worthwhile. So what does Alaska have out of the, I love the Alaska Business Magazine, the Alaska Biggest Monthly. The Top 49ers is my favorite edition, and most recently they just came out with the Gems of the North, and as they said, the shining gems are the Native corporations. Out of the top 49, 20 of them are Alaska Native corporations, and had some of them turned in their information about it, they could have even had more. But right now it's sitting at out of the $16 billion of the Alaska economy, $11 billion of that are generated from the ANCs. And that's an incredible adaptation that we've been able to do since the 1970s. A lot of that is led by ASRC, is 18 years in a row #1 on the list. So the Newtback, as I showed the guy hunting the polar bear, have always held a place of leadership in my mind and my heart. And so these native corporations, and with the capacity that we have, I've looked at what the Maori have done globally and have proposed something similar, but to propose a knowledge-based economy of getting 1,000 Alaska Natives with PhDs. Right now there's currently about 100. 50 or so of those are earned and 50 or so are honorary. And some of those folks that have honorary ones have already passed on, like the late Dr. Walter Soboleff. And these were giants in their field. But the opportunity here is right now for us to get 1,000 Alaska Natives with PhDs. And that would simply bring us on par with developed world standards of having 1% per capita at that master's level. And one of the things is that this is the production of new knowledge and a scientific inquiry. And $500 million happens to be the same amount that ASRC dispersed to their shareholders last year. And so this investment of putting 1,000 Alaska Natives into PhD programs over 5 years seems really high. At the same time, because of the tax credits right now available both through the state and at the federal level, it would only be a cost of $150 million. And so that's a really significant reduction in terms of, by doing this, we could start to embark in what I call building a knowledge-based sustainable economy. There's some examples here of feeder programs that are looking to do this around the world. One of them is in Mazda, probably the most well invested with, I think it was 23 and then reduced to $15 billion by the Dubai government. And they've increased their research ability. They're partnered with MIT. There's actually 5 entities here. One of those is a city, it's a demonstration project. One of those is an innovation center. One of those is a capital company. And all these work in conjunction. Each one of their faculty from Mazda University go to MIT for a year so that they can raise their teaching standards and the research standards to global excellence, and then be able to take that and realize a new economy in their own country. And this is all funded by oil money. Another project that's less government supported but more entrepreneurial in Silicon Valley is the Singularity University, where they bring together teams to solve specific technological challenges that will affect the lives of 1 billion people. And I think that Alaska has a role to play here. As technological learning curves, as we do things, we get better at it. And this is where the people who didn't do things well in Alaska, they didn't eat. So this is applied to energy, of course, but we understand this lesson well here in the Arctic. And here's all the different types of energy and their technological learning curves, as they call them. And these things are exponential oftentimes. They're not always, but oftentimes they are. And our minds worked on linear calculations, linear assumptions. The polar bear is running, I can shoot the arrow here, and I can get the polar bear. But exponential is something that our brains, we need to have outside information to make those calculations and assumptions. And that's why science is so useful. This is an example of the money that's been invested in renewables and in fossil fuels. And as you can see, we're starting to get some emerging technology investment by the this is federal government standards. The same thing happens in Alaska. Moving on, I'll briefly talk about the program I was in Iceland. Because I was in this program, I was able to get access Pekka Lopes and Paul Frau. Paul Frau is the national coordinator for MIT Portugal. These are both amazing individuals. Pekka Lopes is the Sustainable Power Systems coordinator for MIT Portugal. MIT Portugal is the largest research collaboration in Portugal's history. They've had universities for over 1,000 years. So these gentlemen I was able to meet because of the program I was in Iceland, which was a very simple model. It was no permanent faculty. People came for a week to 3 weeks, as little as 3 days. And this program is now defunct. And the opportunity is to bring this to Alaska, and this is how I would propose that we start this, is by having summer schools in the beginning and then having 5 programs, which is where the colors are at. And this right here brought 35 faculty from 30 different countries to Iceland. And we'd be able to bring that same kind of global leaders from institutions like MIT Portugal and MIT and Columbia and Fraunhofer Institute, and the list goes on, because everyone wants to come to Alaska. It's the coolest place around. So because of my connections to Pekka Lopes, he connected me with a team that's looking for a pilot project. And I'll have to go over this real slowly because I'm behind time. But they just got into the semifinals as Raja Systems at the MIT Clean Energy Initiative. So they did a system in Chile It was about 100 people. They had 22 kilowatts of solar PV, a battery bank. This is a microgrids controller. If you're wondering what a smart grid is, I'll explain a little bit about that. But basically, the system does a sliding 48-hour window, and it has an optimization curves that allows you to do some things that are pretty important, which is mainly here. If you look at the blue, you can see that this is when the diesel generators are running, and the rest of the time the diesel shut off. And this right now is a solution to ending energy poverty in Alaska. And not only can we do that here in Alaska, but we can do that globally and supply that technology to the billions of people on the planet who still lack access to clean and affordable energy, education, and water. The technology allows for demand-side management. This clock here costs about $30, and it gives feedback information in the form of colors so that you can know what time of day you would want to conserve energy or whether you want to use energy. This system is also provided in a display to allow for social interaction. So imagine this being at school to where the kids are watching this and they come home and they say, you know, it's 5 o'clock and it's red on the clock, so we're not supposed to use energy. It allows for feedback in a way that doesn't exist right now in the current system. And this would be kind of like if you were, having instantaneous feedback can serve a lot of positive purposes, I think. Because of this system, it allows you to do voluntary turns off rather than demand-side management that's computer controlled, but it also allows you to do that as well. So just turn on pumping and other loads that you can add when you have excess capacity. The system also has the ability to have supervisory control outside of it. So if you have, they trained a fairly low-educated technician to take care of the system inside the village, and also the technicians on a global basis can tunnel in and see what's happening if there needs to be an analysis of the system. My hope here is that, you know, Alaska can be a place where we're able to realize something that makes us all better for having been here, that we're able to build what I call a sustainable and knowledge-based economy, where we invest in the most valuable resource that we have here, which is our people, and specifically our young people, that we make a commitment to investing in education and learning and inquiry and invention, as well as self-reliance that allows all of us to live here. Because without those things, by walking far away from those things, I'm like this analogy to the technology the kayak, is that technology allowed us to survive here in the harshest climate in the world. And now that we've walked away from it, we have the highest suicide rate in the entire nation. And so my hope is by bringing that technology back, we will bring our people back to life. Thank you.